Welcome back to the Tidarium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the Mechanic Studio, or the MechFansToys, the MS-28 Thunderbolt. It's their take on a very G1 representation of Blitzwing. This is a pretty good little figure overall, and it has a lot of great points about it. I really like that it's their own design, and they're not knocking off and KO oversizing something else, but that actually fits in very well, and we're going to look at that coming up. I did get this at Show Z. You can get yours there too. I'll have a link down below. Let's take a look at this guy coming up. Alright, so taking a good look at the box, it does feel just kind of like a cheap kind of a box, but it's got pretty nice artwork to it, and you know, if you're a box collector, it's not bad. Mine did get a little bit dinged up, even though it was packed really well in shipping, got a couple of dents and dings in it, but overall, kind of cool looking packaging. It shows you what both modes are supposed to look like. I guess you say all three, and that wacky, crazy face it comes with. All right, so taking a look at this guy right here. First off, with accessories, he does come with a very interestingly well-painted sword. It has a nice reflective kind of a purplish, pinkish color to it. It looks pretty good. And then over here with the gun, it's just kind of what you'd expect with a gun. Really no paint. Yeah, it looks okay. But himself, overall, he's just kind of bare plastic with some accent paint apps, but I think it works well and it looks really good. So looking at the head here, you do have some paint on the visor, and that's reflective, kind of a red reflective paint, and that does look pretty good. And then that same paint's down here on these arrows and these accents, some silver and some yellow, and then we got some accent paint here. It looks really nice. I mean, exactly kind of what you'd expect with this figure, with this character. It looks really good. And then down below in the legs are pretty clean. There is some kibble on the side here, but you'd expect some sort of kibble in every mode, especially for this character. Looking at the back here, you can see some paint apps that are going to show up a little bit more in the other modes, which is good. Also cool, I like that. And my biggest gripe and my biggest complaint about the overall figure so far is the backpack, and it's supposed to sit a little higher in my mind. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but the backpack should sit a little bit higher. But I think they did that for part of the design because this figure is notorious for being top heavy, and then they just lower it down a bit in the whole design. Then he's gonna be a little bit less top heavy. I mean, I don't really think that would have been as big of an issue because it is a very light figure, but it might have been the issue. Maybe that's not right. Maybe that's not what the issue was. But anyway, looking at him, let's go ahead and get into articulation. As always, the head is on a ball joint, so you get pretty much everything, wide range. Felt a little looser than I thought it would. And then for the shoulder, you've got the pads kind of right here, the 80 shoulders pads. So you can only go to there, and then a little bit restrictive on the shoulder area. But you do have the bicep swivel like normal, a 90 at the elbow. The hand has, I thought you could turn it, but I guess you can't. So no movement on the hand, and then hip flap, and you got the waist swivel. So there's Masterpiece Starscreams that don't even do that, right? And then we have the thigh swivel, the knee to the 90, and you actually have movement at the knee and at the thigh. So you can get a little bit more out of that. And then the feet down here, and it's kind of one of the split exhaust kind of feet, but you have the ankle. So movement, you get a little bit out of that. Yeah, there you go. So starting out some comparisons here, I do want to say that this is how he looks next to two other of the KO oversized MechFansToys. So that's a KO oversize of a DX9, I believe, and I think maybe the same thing over here. So it's an early MechFansToys kind of KO oversize. But the thing is, I think they all look good and scale well together. So this looks good together looking at it like this. So you start mixing brands and stuff starts to not look right. So this is the New Age one, and it looks just too small next to the rest of those. So New Age one looks great, but if you're trying to get a complete shelf, MechFansToys and their KO oversizing and all that stuff, making them all look about the same, the right scale, that kind of works. I've long felt that Magic Square and the MechFansToys stuff kind of scale well together on the shelf, and they look good together, and they look very similar because of kind of the way they're painted and the way they're mostly the bare plastic. We're seeing some improvements in the paint from Magic Square, but there it is. You can see those. And here he is next to their offering of Astro Train, Magic Squares Prime. All this looks great on the shelf. All right, so let's get this guy transformed up. And for those of you who watch Retro Wednesday, this is my Retro Wednesday review space that I usually use. I got the weapons off, and we're going to start with this guy. First thing you do with this, yeah, Retro Wednesday is coming back. It's going to be back in a couple weeks. But I'll catch up on Transform reviews. So you're going to rotate the thigh and then rotate the leg back. Basically, all you're doing is turning the thigh backwards. And the reason for that is so that you can utilize the knee articulation is part of the transformation. And that's smart. I mean, they do that with a lot of things these days. And so we just want to keep up with all that. So anyway, moving over here, we're going to open up on this hinge, open up this piece, and we're going to slide it down. And it all is going to just tab right in. You can close this up, close this back up. And you want to make sure that you've got the hip flap on the inside of this, all this mess. So do the same thing over here. So kind of locate where the hinge is. That's where it's going to open on the hinge. And then rotate down, tabs into place, folds over like so. Close the foot, close this up, snaps together. So this is a bit of a complicated transformation. So it's just going to take a little bit. Anyway, the hand, fold this down, rotate it, and be careful. This feels like something that could break, so be careful. It's just really, really tight. And for some reason, I thought there was more articulation on it because it does all this. But same thing on this other side. Fold that down, fold this around, flip this bad boy up, and then you just kind of let them sit like so. Don't do the next step for me. You have to disconnect here, disconnect here. One side's easy to disconnect and the other side's hard. That's how it always goes, isn't it? Now, this is a weird thing. Like, this is really strange. So, I guess if we move the arm out of the way, there's a pin right here and an armature, and you're going to rotate this whole wing assembly around. I've tried to decide which is better, to go down or up and around. We're going to go up and around, so you got to clear this tab piece, so you are bending some stuff, but you want to rotate it and hold on to this little piece as you rotate, so that way it works. And you're going to rotate it all the way around like so. That's just crazy how they do that. Anyway, you can also, it might be helpful too if we open it like this before we start all the crazy rotating, but this is just something different I've never seen before, so there it goes. MechFansToys does do a lot of really good work in my opinion. So now that we have these sort of folded over like so, it's starting to look like a mess. So you want to kind of keep it in your mind where you're at. You're turning it into a tank. So we're going to open up this tank stuff here, and we're going to take this around the rest of the way. And I think it's best to do like one side first and then try to just work on getting all that done. Okay, so now we're going to line all this up here and start having things tabbing in. We need to open up this like so, like that, and then this is going to fold over. All right, let's get it all folded over, and then we're going to start tabbing all of this fun stuff together. Now there's little pieces here that tab into here, so we got to get all that lined up just right. There it is. And then this has to tab in to here to form the back of this. And all that seems to be working. Now, when you fold this over, you're going to see that you have this kind of a gun piece here, and that tabs into this, into the other side of the hand. So this is tabbing into the other side of the hand, and it's not doing it as easy. Maybe the hand's a little misaligned. There it goes. Then you're going to open this up, and then it's going to fold over. And you're going to line this up to here, and then we got the rest of this stuff to deal with. Pull this piece here out. Yes, it is complex. There's a lot of little bitty steps, but as you can see, what you're doing here is you're just turning it into a tank. And it's sort of intuitive once you just start. Once you start it and you start working on it, it's intuitive and it sort of makes sense. And then this flap here covers it. Well, actually, the flap needs to go underneath, like so. And there we go. We're down to this side, and it looks pretty good the way we're going here. So now, before we get too far into the next one, this next step, somewhere in here, we're going to have to rotate this head around. So I'm going to try to do it now, and hopefully it doesn't really affect anything. So we're going to rotate the other side, kind of just the way we did, and move it to the back. And then start getting all this stuff into place here. And we're going to open this over to here. Fold this whole armature section up. Maybe I've got this in the wrong position. On the other one, I had it rotated this direction, so there we go. And then we're going to tab this into here. It's a tight tabbing. We're going to open up this piece, and I guess at this point we want to open this, and then we're going to fold it around. And be careful. I just really think you could easily break that head, so be careful with the head. So that's the difference from this side to the other side. And tab that in. There's a tab here that tabs into that over the top there, and then this, you're going to fold it over and just, I guess I should have waited and tabbed that in like so. Okay, there we go. And then fold this around. We are finishing this up and getting all the little tabs in place. And now we have ourselves a tank. All right, move that back. You can move it back and you've got your tank. And we're going to have a look at this tank. Here he is in his tank mode, and off camera I did go around and just kind of tighten everything up. Just a couple things needed to just be pressed in to be completely complete there. But I do think it looks really good. I think it's a good looking tank, but when you get to some comparisons, you're going to kind of see where it could have improved in the tank mode. I think it looks great. I mean, it doesn't really look unsightly. You don't see a whole bunch of kibble in the back. I mean, I could live with these in the back, I guess. Maybe they should have covered that up somehow, but for the transformation already as complex as it is, I don't think I'd want it any more complex for a Legends scale. So let's go ahead and put on here the accessories, and you can tab in the accessories however you want right here. So it is pretty much all-inclusive, except that extra head, which I guess I didn't show the extra head in person. I just showed it on the box, but anyhow, it's an extra crazy head. Tab it in, tab it in, tab it in. And that's what it looks like with the accessory. I don't think anyone's really going to display it like this, but if you just don't want to lose your accessories, then that's what it's all about. And that really does work if you don't want to lose your accessories. So, yeah, definitely a good looking mode. Let's do some comparisons. So here it is compared to the G1, and the G1 is thinner. See, this is kind of, in my mind, maybe the G1, or maybe I have it backwards. Maybe it should be this way. But in my mind, the G1 is kind of the standard in the alt mode and kind of what I expect out of a tank. And so maybe that's a me problem. I think this one's just a little bit too wide. But at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. It's still a good looking tank. It just doesn't quite match this one in my mind. But hey, it works. And some other size comparisons right here. You have new age small cars, and you have the MechFansToys version of the upscale DX9 Scourge, the sweep. So that's how he scales. He's a good size. He's right. Okay, before I go to the jet mode, I do want to point out all of the kind of paint apps and stuff that we saw in other modes in different spots that come out and they shine in the tank mode. So you got the paint right here, these like rectangle pieces. You got the paint on the back of that, and then paint right here. One more thing is actually kind of interesting is, and I'm just noticing it now that I'm going to be putting it in the other mode, is that there's tabs here too that look like they fit the weapons on the top. Like that, and then like this. That's pretty cool too. So you have options starting to wonder if there's more spots that I missed. Anyway, there it goes. So, getting this thing transformed into jet mode, it's probably way simpler than any other transformation of this sort. So, folding the wing pieces out. So there's the wing pieces, we're going to be folding it out. But it's tabbed into a lot of places, so you have to kind of untab, like kind of wiggle it like that to get it untabbed. And then clear this piece and then fold it around. I just don't want to do anything that breaks it, so since there's a tab that holds it in there, we're wiggling it out and then folding it around. And then at the same time, we see these tabbed in so well, I thought they would stay when we moved it. That was weird. Those guns stayed in so well. But anyway, all right, so when we move these guns here, there we go. We're going to leave this because it's still part of the jet, and then fold this in on itself like so, and the same thing over here. Pull it in on itself like so. This is pushed to the back. Now we need to get the nose cone out. We're going to open this up, and then we're going to fold out and around the nose cone like so. And then this, and something didn't sound good, but nothing broke. Then we're going to fold the head around like so. Nope, not like so. Like so on the pin. And then we're going to basically put the head back in place, and then there's a ball joint here to fold the head in to this giant compartment. So he's got a big head, so he's got a lot of space in there for a big head. But this is just a really kind of a weird way to fold. It doesn't feel like it wants to fold, but fold in. There it goes. Then you can fold this piece here down, and see the reason it's got that L, it's got the clearance to fit that. There we go. That works. Okay, so pretty much all transformed up. That is quick and easy, and it's fast and easy. I like the way that looks. I do like the way that looks. It works really well. You see some components of it in the tank mode in it. You see some components of the jet and the tank. It's just the way it is. It's the way this character is. If you wanted to, you can fold these down also and have it look a little bit different. I just think it looks more correct like this. I mean, these are options, things you can do, and then you can set it down and it'll sit just fine. But, you know, no rolling or anything, but it's not supposed to roll. It's supposed to be a plane. You can make it look like it's taken off, too. The center of gravity is a little off. But it has a lot of paint apps in this mode. Like the cockpit, that little shiny silver. You got the paint on the tip right there. You got the paint that carries over from the bot mode in this mode. And then you got the stripe that you really only see in this mode. So a lot of really good paint apps that are in there. Looks like this needs to be tabbed back in somehow. Tighten back up. But pretty good overall. Let's do some comparisons. But, you know, I think just for fun, before we get into comparisons, let's see how easy it is to transform a G1 in comparison. And that's one of the things that I like to think about. Like, where do we come from? Where do we go with all of this? And we came from G1. And you remember the days where pretty much that's all you had to do to transform a transformer. Isn't that funny? During editing, I noticed I did not do something real simple and lift this up, and so that is super simple. And you know what? I probably would have never noticed if it wasn't for me wondering why I didn't do it to the G1. That is just so silly to miss something like that. So here it is compared to the G1, and remember to lift those these spoiler pieces up. It looks good. I think that it really does sort of match the G1 aesthetic, and the alt mode in the G1 is still, I think, better. It's smoother, cleaner, it's better, the alt mode, but the bot mode just destroys it. So size-wise, though, they're about the same size. A Legends figure, in a way, is almost bigger than the G1, and we're seeing a lot of that going on here. So that's kind of crazy. And here's a comparison to some New Age small bots and a MechFansToys swoop, just so you kind of see size. And it's a pretty good size for a Legends figure alt mode. So this has been my look at the MechFansToys Mechanics Studio MS-28 Thunderbolt. This is a great looking figure, and it works pretty good. A bit of a complex transformation overall, but a definite great representation of Blitzwing. I know there's another one coming out, 1984, or something like that is the name of the company. And I don't know if that's going to stack up to this one. I think this one's still going to be the best. I don't see any plans for Magic Square or New Age making it. This will be the best one on the market for a while. I like it. I got a link down below where you can get yours. I got mine at Show Z. Like and subscribe. Titanium Hanger out.